Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. Here on March the 8th of 2018, I am Nick, here with Chris.
Hello,
Nick.
Nick.
Let's talk about manga, man.
Do we want to talk about manga or do we want to talk about the mystery hat, Nick?
You've got a mystery hat.
I have a mystery hat. Nick, today's current environment is very divisive amongst individuals. We're all fighting with one another. It's hard for us to find common ground. And I created a hat that only serves to further encourage that problem, while at the same time also takes advantage of what we here in this world truly love, which is loot boxes. So, Nick, I have put together this hat of hot takes with hot takes of varying different rarities that we together could use to have big hot takes that people will presumably at some point pay money for. This is just a test. Who knows if this works?
Chris, we don't need the hat of hot takes. You already said we never learn is better than Nisekoi.
Well, let's try this. So I'm reaching into the hat. You can see I'm not gaming the system. This is just I'm gonna grab one here. Let's see what we got. All right, so we got a rare this time because it's blue, so that's rare. The Water Temple is the best temple of Ocarina of Time. Done.
That is, I mean, that's just true. That's not
true.
a hot take.
That's
not a hot take. That's just a much disputed fact. So.
Exactly. All right, well, let's try another one. Let's see. These are free. These ones are getting away for free. In the future, I don't know if they will. Oh, this is a legendary, guys. This is a legendary hot take. It's yellow. You can't see it too well, but this is legendary. Burger King fries are incomparably better than McDonald's. In fact, McDonald's fries suck ass. Don't at me.
I do not disagree on the second point. I have not had Burger King fries in forever, though. So
incomparably better. Incomparably.
I mean, I'm sure that there are some people who would agree with you on these points, Chris. I'm not sure. Isn't the point of a hot take that you're supposed to provoke controversy?
These are controversial, Nick.
Are you sure? I don't have any stance on the fries issue, Chris.
New rare. New rare. Toy Story 2 blue. Boom. Hot take.
I mean, in comparison to
just
a lot
blue.
of Pixar movies, I don't know about that. Chris, how many of these are we going to eat through?
Look, we got to give the fans like a sampling. They got to have a taste for it. So, Final Fantasy, this is an epic. Final Fantasy X is a top 5 Final Fantasy. If you link to the laugh scene, then you don't get it. Don't at me. Boom. Also, Final Fantasy VII's not that good. So I'll just add that on. That's an extra add-on.
What are the other members of the top 5 Final Fantasies?
12.
Okay.
6. I'll put 7 in there. I'm not crazy on it. 7 could go in there, I guess. And maybe 4. 4 is a little tough. I'll put 4 in tentatively. It's tentatively in there. But there you go.
If you put, Nick's life experience and Final Fantasy on a Venn diagram, they would just be 2 parallel circles. So
does Kingdom Hearts fall on that list?
Does that count? And I've only played like 4 levels of the first one, so
This is another epic. This is the last one we're gonna do for free. After this, it's gonna be high paid because it's a loot box. Remember this, Nick. This is how companies make money nowadays. We need to do this. In fact, actually, what it'll be in the future is you get shards that you can then redeem for.
we actually give you like the box for free, but it's so heavily locked and fortified that you can't possibly break it open without buying the key from us.
I'm like, Nick, hold on a second here. All right, sorry, I accidentally actually stopped recording there for a quick second. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to turn Weekly Manga Recap into a mobile game. That's my goal with this. This is my last one. This is an epic.
What you actually did there, Chris, was you actually cut off the preview section, and then from that point on, you have to pay by the minute if you want to watch the rest.
Yeah, the rest of the podcast, you have to. Well, you've run out of stamina, so you could refill stamina for a certain amount of money. But
you got to buy donuts if you want it to go faster. So
exactly. So this is the last epic. Hayden Christensen gets too much shit for the quality of the prequels, and Natalie Portman doesn't get enough.
Absolutely.
Boom.
That is totally
Hot takes.
That is a good hot take.
All right, let's talk about manga now.
Those movies were neither of their faults, but he really got a lot of the bad stuff in those.
I'm gonna keep this here as like a.
It's not his fault that Anakin doesn't like sand.
He didn't write the dialogue.
Oh. Anyway, I have no idea how we're gonna go from that into manga.
Oh wait, hold on. I got another one in here. Weekly manga recap should always begin with My Hero Academia. That's a hot take.
Oh, okay. That's an invisible tier hot take. All right, so let's do this. Let's do My Hero Academia. It's number 173. Prepping for the school festival is the funnest part. Part 2. I think that might be the longest chapter title again this week. I'm not sure. I haven't checked out We Never Learn yet. Anyway, as you might expect from a chapter of that title, we begin with more prepping for the school festival,
As you do.
Yeah. So, we get a little bit of cutting around between the different groups of Class 1A in terms of, the section that they're working on for their concert. So, the band is practicing together, the dance crew is practicing together. And I like how, you get all this actually going on. And then, Todoroki and Kirishima and Sero and the other one all gathered around a table just to, like, discussing. It's like, I don't know if that will fit within our budget. Maybe. I really want, because it's like, Todoroki is, like, the only one there that you would really expect to be doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want, like, Kirishima to be wearing, like, a suit.
Oh, he has tiny spectacles on. He's just, like, punching numbers.
He's got a PowerPoint ready. So as you can see from our figures for this, like, they've got like a rolling budget, despite the fact that this is all taking place within, like, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's like his glasses on his nose. He's using one of those old school, like, accounting calculators. Like, the calculator's going off. He's like, I'm punching these numbers in, guys. I don't know how we're going to be able to afford the fourth quarter. These numbers are just not looking good.
We have reached the maximum confines of our constraints, guys. We are already at maximum hardness in terms.
Yeah, I was gonna say, camera pans around the calculator's just all buttons that say hard over and over again on it. He's like, guys, I'm punching in all the hardness I can, and these numbers just aren't functioning.
Meanwhile, Koda and Sarah are, like, falling asleep on each other. Sarah's, like, playing with his tape. Also, Ashio is instructing Midoriya to not forget the LOCK of Pop and Lock.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I don't know why. I must have missed it. I just missed the weird joke on the next page.
Another thing that I wanted to note before I move over to there is that it seems as though Bakugo has taken charge of the band. Like, because he's just, like, showing, he's like, we've got our set list of fucking practice, assholes! So, somehow he went from, I don't want to fucking play, fuck all of you guys, to being the leader when he's the drummer.
Of course, one, he's the drummer, so he's the best part of the band, I love Phil Collins. Two, Bakugo never does anything in moderation. He screams die plaque as he brushes his teeth. Of course, if he's in a band, he's going to be like, practice! Practice! Murder those instruments!
So, a little bit of time goes by. During break, or I think this is actually this might actually be during the dance practice, maybe. But they spot in the bushes Mirio was hiding, and Mirio's like, "I have to perform an unexpected gag," and then, as Eri is coming out from behind him around the corner, they're like, "Oh, Eri, you're, like, in irregular clothes. You're so cute." He just sticks his ass out of the bush and goes, "Nice full moon we're having."
It doesn't work because his ass isn't actually showing, so it doesn't work.
Oh, he's just sticking his pants through the fucking... You just see a couple of jeans back pockets sticking through this bush.
So, today is the 10th anniversary of The Wire going off the air. It all connects. And in The Wire, there's a very memorable scene where Jay Landsman, who is the extremely overweight, shitty police chief, at one point he has like an office with a lot of glass in it, like glass walls essentially, so you can see through it. Just slams his bare ass against the wall and is like, "Yoo-hoo, McNulty!" to like the main character. That became a long-running joke between me and my brother, where if you turned a corner into a room, one of us might just have our pants down with our ass shaking out, just going, "Yoo-hoo, McNulty!" So I'm very well educated on the idea of how to properly execute an ass-showing joke. And he doesn't have his ass showing. It's not funny. I mean, I'm kind of glad he doesn't, because there's like a 6-year-old girl in front of him, so that'd be a little weird. But still, Mirio's got to work better at this. This is a real half-hearted attempt.
I'm at the point now between this and not understanding that going on a date with Eri is creepy and bad, that losing his quirk might have caused permanent mental damage to Mirio.
What we never realized is that Mirio's quirk was to go through walls and also to keep his mind sane. Like, it gave him like extra chemicals to keep his like weirdness down a level. I don't know.
Aizawa is also with them, which I guess might also explain why Mirio didn't pull his pants down. So I was like, "Oh, it's Eri! Oh, yay! You're so cute. It's so nice to see you." She is, however, very shy, obviously. And we get a little bit of a brief flashback from a conversation with Aizawa and Nezu, and the principal says, "Yeah, I think it's a good idea for her to come out, but hey, don't just shove her out into the frickin' school festival from complete isolation."
Excuse me, Nick. We discussed this on the last WMR Q&A, that if the hamster was to have the voice of anyone for The Wire, it should be Bunk Moreland.
Well,
so you gotta do a very deep voice. I see no issue, but bear in mind, motherfucker, I was out with those girls, push them together.
Important information.
He wasn't supposed to be.
Give me my cheeks.
He wasn't supposed to be drunk. That was supposed to be Mineta, but I realized I don't want to do a Bunk that's not drunk Bunk. It was just like, you just remember this girl's been isolated from society together and shoot them titties together.
Anywho. So, yes, Mirio introduces Eri to a couple of the people there. Ida introduces himself. Mirio goes, "She's on the shy side," and Ida says, "Shy, is she?" Well, that is what Mirio just said, yes. That is exactly what they established just before you asked that question.
Are we overlooking Mineta Bean says, "Hey, look me up in 10 years"?
Yes, we are.
Okay, just moving on.
I don't know. That's one of the more innocent jokes from him. I feel like we've gotten, honestly.
It's so fucking weird. Like him just being like, "Eventually you'll be legal." Look me up then. And it's like, no one's gonna have a problem with this.
You imagine, they're having this conversation. It's like, "Oh, is she shy?" And Eri's like, "No, I'm really fucking scared of that one weird, creepy kid."
I mean, let's not forget his quirk is to throw sticky balls that trap people. This dude has all the potential right now to really be an awful person.
He's gonna be a hero, Chris.
Is he? Isn't his heroic motivation to get chicks?
He can't be any worse than Endeavor.
Doesn't someone just need to tell him, you could be a villain and still get chicks? And he's like, sold! He's like, I didn't know that!
At least his motivation is, I want to be a popular hero so the girls will throw themselves at me. Not, I want to learn how to use my powers so that I can rape girls. I think we should be looking on the bright side of things here. He's trying to better himself, Chris.
He's bettering himself by hitting on the 6-year-old.
He's not hitting on her. He's hitting on her in 10 years.
In the future. It's like that thing. I remember being in 8th grade on the school bus home, and one of the guys was like, "You can't say that 6th graders are hot. You have to say she's gonna be hot when she gets older." And it's this is such a weird, uncomfortable conversation. Why are you making this argument?
I don't know. I think that I think that 8th graders can say that about 6th graders.
I think he may have been talking about a younger grade than that. I'm trying to give him the dignity.
If you stay within the same, like, school division, I think that you're okay. Middle schoolers can't hit on elementary schoolers. High schoolers can't hit on middle schoolers. Everything else can be okay, but just kind of creepy.
Okay, so let's settle this. Mineta is extremely creepy.
He's extremely creepy.
Shit, that shook your entire foundation there.
Well, that's because the laptop's not entirely on the desk. So, anyway, so, yeah, and also Kirishima, like, I was like, "Hey, Harry! Oh, right, you don't know me." I was carted off, bleeding and broken by the time you were rescued. So, Deca goes off with Mirio and Eri as Mirio takes her around the school for a tour. Some business course third years spot them, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Tagata, you've got a kid. Wait. Did you have a secret love child, Mirio?" And he just kind of goes, eh. "What? No, say something! You can't just say nothing! I need this clarified!" I was like, I understand. You know, you can be like, "Hey, you've been away for a while, and there's a kid suddenly with you. What the fuck's up with that?" But still, she's 6! How do you... No, he wasn't away having a love child in that time. He didn't have a kid when he was 12, you guys. There's like, and they're not the only people who have that reaction. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
I'm wondering if Mirio has like a real problem where he's just like, he's lost his quirk and he's just like, well, you know what? I'll really win them over with by being really weird. Like, that's what's really gonna set me over. I feel like that's what people remember. Is like, I'm gonna be like a Jack Sparrow kind of dude. And, except I'm really just gonna be weird around this little girl. It's basically, I'm gonna act like I'm her dad, but I'm right around her age, kind of. So it's
I'm gonna act like weirder. I'm her dad, while also telling her I'm on a date with her.
Well, here's the thing. I can understand a dad doing that with his daughter, being like, "Hey, we're going out on a date." It's a kind of cute thing. It's happened before. I get that, but he is like, it's in that range where you're like, you could be your dad, but it's more likely you're like her older brother. Why don't you just deny these things, Mirio? Mirio, why don't you do the right thing? He's just like, no, hold on. I'm coming up with a really great ass-related gag up soon. I gotta devote all my brain power to that.
He's not actually like letting them think something as a joke. He's actually thinking like, what kind of other ass jokes can I pull on these guys in the future?
He's just like, think.
Just drop down from the ceiling, hang my ass in their face, and oh no!
I could paint my ass blue, drop down from the ceiling and scream, "It's a new moon, everybody!" And then I release a bunch of dogs and werewolves come out. Yes, I just need to get dogs.
Why would your ass be blue if you're the moon?
It's a new moon.
No, a blue moon is different from a new moon.
He doesn't know that. He's not going to.
Oh, okay. All right. New moon because it's like flipped around. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Mirio's bad at astronomy, not me.
Anyway, they go around the school. People are, of course, preparing in earnest for the school festival. They also come across Class 1B, and wouldn't you know it, fucking Monoma is there to shit on them. Because of course he is. That's like the entire reason he exists within this series, is not to copy people's powers, but just to shit on people. So he brings up that he hears, "Oh, your class is putting on a live show. Are you sure about that? Because Class B is going to outshine you this time. Romeo and Juliet and the Return of the Prisoner King of Azkaban. A totally spectacular original fantasy screenplay from none other than Class B." I love that. The Prisoner King of Azkaban.
So it's Star Wars, Romeo and Juliet, and Harry Potter.
And Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings. Okay.
Also, I don't know if there's any Star Wars in there.
Well, but the Return of the Prisoner King of Azkaban. I assume that's Return of the Jedi.
No, Return of the King.
Fuck Fuck
I mean, I would put it past them to include Star Wars in there too, but
I didn't put that in there. But Return of the Jedi is cooler than Return of the King.
just replace their swords with lightsabers, and it all fits. You know?
Yeah, there you go.
And he actually literally says, "You should go practice again because you'll be crying when Class B blows you out of the water. Don't forget your hanky." And his face becomes demented over the prospect of beating Class A in who can put on the better live show competition that apparently they're having. So a classmate bops him on the head with a wooden stick. Which actually makes Deku go, huh, I wonder what happened with Kendo. Because, she's, usually the one who does this. And the guy says, oh, she's actually doing her own thing this time. She's doing the beauty pageant. Because, of course, this arc would not be complete, Chris, without a prom. Or a homecoming queen.
What school does a beauty pageant?
UA!
I'm like, I've never heard of a school doing a beauty pageant. That's just like, guys, we've had a really good third quarter, but we haven't had a lawsuit. So let's get all our female students together and gauge them on how hot and attractive they are.
I think that, from what I understand, it was based on something that has, another name in Japan, and I think the beauty pageant was just the easiest way of getting the point across. So I think that the context of it is slightly different.
It's just one of those things, coming from Catholic school, the very, insinuation of this is just what the hell? No, there'd be no way.
Objectifying underage females.
Can't do that. That's crazy. You get down and you start praying.
Till they're 18, and then we'll objectify them all we want.
Is Mineta the judge now too? He's the principal.
All right, everybody. We're gonna be choosing the next winner of the WWE Diva Search. That got weird, by the way.
It was weird from the start, but then when they were like, "All right, this week you're
a cum-guzzling gutter slut."
Yeah, there was 1 week they're like, "Shit on the other contestants, just be catty bitches."
Jesus Christ! And they just did not tell them what they could not say either.
I love Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era.
It wasn't the Attitude Era. It was past that.
It's like Ruthless Aggression Era when everything was just by the skin of the teeth. Just like everything Tough Enough related is great. Where they're just all right, Kurt Angle, have a shoot wrestling match against any one of these contestants. It's no one was this one guy's a mixed martial arts semi-pro, right? Maybe it's dangerous to have Kurt Angle go up against him. And someone had to really be oh, he pinned him. Kurt Angle's arm didn't get broken. He pinned him. He won. It's all right.
Everyone who talks about that incident has a different story behind it too. Pewter will have you say will have you believe that he legit was going to destroy Kurt Angle in that instance. Angle will tell you no, it was actually planned for him to get the better of him in that point. But everyone says something different about that. But in any case, Danny Pewter had absolutely no charisma to speak of, so whatever.
I would go with the Daniel Pewter. I would go with the Daniel Pewter story being the more likely one, because then he did have a Royal Rumble match where he came out 5th, and it was just Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, fucking Hardcore Holly just slap chopping him in the chest before throwing him out.
We had a let's slap this guy in the chest amongst the 3 people who could slap you in the chest the hardest, who aren't named Big Show.
All right, we've gotten super off tangent this week.
Mirio brings up that someone else who is going to be participating in the beauty pageant is Nejire. Oh, they didn't forget about her, Chris.
No, they didn't forget about her. Yeah. She's super important. She's just like the other two.
There's a really weird moment where, because Nejire, I guess, is practicing. She's dressed up. She's all glammed up. She's floating around using her powers. And then she spots Eri. He's oh, hey, how you doing? And then Deku's oh, man, with that flashy quirk, those looks, those proportions. Are you talking about her proportions, Deku? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about her hips and her tits? Is that what you're talking about, Deku? Her legs? Are you staring at her body, Deku? Is that what you're trying not to talk about? Anyway, why were you only the runner-up? So Oh, good. Nice to know you think she's hot, Deku. Okay, why were you the runner-up, Nejire? And she explains it is because of the pageant queen, Bibimi Kinranzaki of support class 3G. And we get a brief shot of Kinranzaki, who has all the eyelashes. Those are terrifying eyelashes. How did she become the winner of the beauty pageant? I would take one look at those eyelashes and be like, no. Clearly those are enhanced. And also terrifying.
You know, they're probably weapons.
Maybe that's her quirk. It's like eyelash whips or something. She just looks weird to me. How did she?
It's the eyelashes are super long, so that's really what sticks out. She probably uses them to kill people. That's probably her quirk, like super sharp eyelashes, and she just she rhino gores people.
If she uses them as part of her quirk, fine. Even so, how'd she win the beauty pageant? Whatever. Weird standards of beauty. So, also Sun Eater is there. Chisaki is. And he brings up, Kendo is competing this year, and she's got an underground kind of following. So, Hado is really giving her it all in order to try and win this. Then he starts to get a stomachache because he just imagines being up in front of a huge crowd. And he's like, ugh. That's some really bad, ugh. I know that people get nervous. The mere idea of it gets them, ugh.
The big three have a very eclectic collection of personalities. I almost want to see a spin-off manga about the three of them. And that's where we see Mirio's always just a weird, awkward loser who doesn't get this.
What we didn't see in the flashback where he was bonding with Chisaki was that after he learned to stick his hand part of the way through the board, he then started sticking his ass part of the way through the board.
He's just is it waxing or waning? He's like, I don't get it. My butt! He's like, I still don't get it.
But Nejire says that she is planning on taking the prize this year because it's her last chance since she's in her third year. They end up going to the development studio where the support class is working on a bunch of robots. And, of course, who should show up but Mei Hatsume? And she's really excited about getting to show off one of her projects, My Super Cute Baby, number 202. And Deku's there is like, you look a little dirty right now. And Hatsume's just like, no time to waste on bathing!
I love that attitude of just no time to waste on bathing. It's just you know what? I applaud that. I applaud that dedication to focus entirely just on your work. That you're just I don't care if I'm covered in dirt and I smell and all these things. I gotta make more cool robots.
Anyway, yeah, she's really excited because this is her chance to really actually be the star attraction, basically, during the festival, as opposed to when she just kind of more intruded on where the hero course got to shine during the sports festival. And of course, there's an explosion because a visit to the support section would not be complete without an explosion.
My baby.
Time passes. We get a little bit of montage of Class 1A doing more preparations and stuff, and then cut over to the cafeteria where Eri is sitting with Mirio and Deku, and they're like, "Hey."
Are we skipping over the other Shinso appearance that has happened within the past 2 years?
Yes.
We see Shinso for one panel. He's breaking wood in his hands. In the previous panel,
Oh, that is Shinso.
Yeah. It's his other appearance that he's had since that one shot of him walking down the hallway. 7th most popular character, whatever he was.
Don't talk to him.
We can't have him speak. We just need to remind people he's still around.
Just pay no attention to that Shinso behind the curtain. So they ask how Ari's feeling about, how she feels about, being there. And she's like, But she says there are so many people all working really hard, so she wants to see how it turns out. So she does actually want to come and check out the festival when it happens. Then they happen to overhear Midnight and Nezu talking from nearby. Nezu is doing his usual thing, which is he has something that he can consume, so he gets really freaking worked up over it. I think the last time we saw him do that was when he was going crazy with his coffee. But yeah. Anyway, he says like, hey, he's also excited for the festival. And Midnight's like, hey, I don't know, that the whole thing that you were talking about with the police. And she's like, nope, shut up. Let's not talk about that. Got places to be. Bye, kids. And then we get a flashback from his perspective of meeting with the chief of police, who basically didn't want him to put on the festival. It was too much of a security risk, considering everything, with all the villains going around, all the dangers that have already happened to UA, and, just putting too much of a risk on the kids, and when he should just be focused on, developing them. But Nezu says that he thinks that this is a really important thing for the students. He thinks that they really need this type of event. So he just bows deeply to them all and begs, hey, let us put this on. We'll do everything in order to keep it safe, but don't make the future any darker than it has to be. And it's cool to see that, we've seen a lot of, the teachers having to answer for the dangers that have befallen Class 1A and the rest of the school in the past. And it's nice to see that, hey, we can't just have everything be super, super safe. We have to have a little bit of freedom for these guys, or else they're not going to be able to enjoy their youth, and they're not going to be able to develop as normal people. So, good stuff.
Absolutely.
They have, of course, established a bunch of different security measures, including Midnight establishes that she has taken off Hound Dog's leash. I'm sure that's a detail I'm just forgetting. Anyway, everyone's all super excited. Deku also tells Eri that they're putting on their, concert with dancing, as he puts it, a show with music and dancing. We're gonna boogie. You're so white, Deku. And he says, I wanted to do my best so that it'll be as fun for you as possible. I hope you can make it out to that one. He heads back after his break is about to end. But then, 1 week after practice started, and I love this one panel. I know that people have really started really falling in love with Ashido's antics in the last few weeks. Fuck all of that, though. Ashido in serious business mode in a suit with sunglasses is my jam. I love how she's like looking so important when what she's essentially doing is just dismissing a clumsy idiot from participating in the team dance, like she's delivering news of Deku's child being dead. And that's what happens. Like everyone's looking all solemn and stuff, and she's just like, Midoriya, you're out.
Give me your badge and gun. She's like, we got guns for this? She's like, yeah, I don't know why. I really didn't think that one through, but...
You see like how Yama is practicing his two-step in the corner while he's got a gun balanced on his nose.
Firing off into the air.
It just turns into the rich Texan from The Simpsons. Blanks just don't have the same feeling.
Oh man, yeah, it was this pretty packed chapter of My Hero this week. There's a lot to kind of look into, a lot of small stuff, some teases and things like that. I don't know why the part I think I enjoyed the most was seeing I forget her name, but Hatsume, is that her name? The support staff girl. I like her a lot. I wish we got more of her. Great. I think she was really fun. But yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty impressive chapter of stuff going on this week. Nothing crazy huge, nothing monumental or anything like that, but perfectly fine. So kind of a weird cliffhanger though. I'm not super invested in Deku's dance career.
No, I think that it's going to lead into him having some sort of a special role during the whole thing. Or it could just very well be as like, Deck, you really suck at dancing.
They just decide to slingshot him across the stage at some point.
Okay, so Deca, your role in the festival is to be the guy that we all serve. So you do your white boy dance, and then we'll come up and we'll totally school you.
What my role would be if I was in this. Yeah, like, all right, starting off with the Charleston. Oh, that was his top.
All right.
That's
now the Cabbage Patch.
He goes down from here.
And the sprinkler.
Oh, he's trying to Soldier Boy. He's not doing it, but he's trying it.
Oh, no. Oh, he's getting on the floor. Is he gonna? He's trying to worm. He can't do it.
He's doing the spin-ernie. He's just, it's not really a spin-ernie. He's just spinning on the ground. It's more of like the
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? Props for that. All right, now somebody actually do some real dance moves. Oh, he's trying that usher leg move. He never could do it before. I don't know why he decided to break it out now. Ooh.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. I'm pretty much in agreement with you on, especially on the appearance of Hatsume. But I think that she's the kind of really disruptive scene-stealing character that you don't want to show up too often. Mm-hmm. So I do like whenever they, check in on her and she just blows something else up. Let's move on to Food Wars, Chapter 253, True Gourmet. So last time, Senzemon, yes, Chris?
I have a comment.
What is it, Chris?
I don't know how to feel about this, but it's a very sexy cover of Food Wars this week. And my first observation of Food Wars was, I really like the color for nails. I was like, Courage is a really cool nail color. I don't know why. I feel like something's wrong about that. Like, after it's like, oh, and she's sexy too. But I was like, that nail color's on point.
What, the green on her dark skin?
Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, that's a cool nail color. That's really dope. I like that. Also, I hope they make out. I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know which one's Courage, guys. I don't know their names, all right?
Courage is the darker skinned one. I don't remember what the other fucking one is named. She's the less important anyway. She didn't even get to be a judge. She just wanted to fucking ride a zombie's lap.
Nice.
Anywho, Senzemon last chapter declared that the upcoming 5th bout will be the final bout. And he clarifies that what that means is that with the final 2 chefs on each side, each chef will still present one dish, but they will present the dishes in tandem as a 2-course meal. One chef shall prepare the appetizer, their partner prepares the main course. Both dishes served together as a multi-course meal. And so people are like, what? Hang on a second. Whoa, hang on, Senzemon. You want the top 2 seats of the council of 10 to work together? Why? But he just ignores this and presses on and says, there's no theme ingredient. Chefs can do whatever the hell they want, but the course will have a theme, which is a truly gourmet multi-course meal. And Senzemon's like, hey, Dean Azami, you have any objections to that? And he's like, no. Of course I don't. As he puts it, to taste such a delicacy, a musical suite of gourmet composed by Tsukasa Kobayashi. The chosen theme is so convenient, I almost feel sorry for the competition. After all, the Council of 10 is composed only of those chefs who embody my ideal of true gourmet. On the other hand, Arina, as she is now, is completely incapable of creating true gourmet. So.
What did he say?
Yeah, he was like, I know her so well, and I can say that with certainty. And Harry's like, oh, really?
Can you now, bitch?
She says, I like to think I've changed, Father. The dishes I create now will not be what I once made. My apologies, but your precious daughter has become a runaway and a delinquent. The good little girl you once knew no longer exists. She immediately, I don't know, starts like wearing like really black eyeliner and
starts going out late at
puts
night.
the band posters and I don't know, finds some guy who owns a motorcycle and so that she can go out with him. And
she's in her edgy teenage years. I like that. There's two things. One, I like Soma's reaction to us because he's like, wait, hold on. When was she a good girl? And he references shit that happened in the third fucking chapter of this series, showing that Soma has held a grudge on this chick for like 3 years. He's just like, hold on a moment.
He's constantly referencing that, of course.
I know, but it's just like, Soma, dude, get over it. Fuck, man.
I love that Hisako comes in and it's like, you can hear it. Come on, this isn't the time to bring something like that up while she's refilling his tea.
But I also love that Azami's like, yes, well, it's natural for a child to go through to be like that when they're going through puberty. Bullshit. She's done with puberty. She can't still be going through it. This is fucking insane. Have you seen her? This poor girl, she's still got growing to do, is in for a rough life.
Well, before it says that Azami could change by it, says it was like, all right, you said you were fine with it. Tomorrow is going to be the competition. Good luck. Bye.
He had to say it really quickly before the Alzheimer's kicked back in. He was just like, where am I?
Well, presumably then we get our answer from the question we were asking last week, which was, so did Senseiman have like any particular reason why he was like okay with this? Does he have like some master plan? Maybe it's related to this reveal. But Azami apparently didn't know about this because he clearly had not agreed to it up until this point. Like he was like, reacting with surprise as Senseiman was making this announcement. So clearly Azami was like, let me be the judge for the continuation of the Team Shokugeki. You have no reason to agree to this, but I would really like to be a judge. In fact, I would like to be the sole person who decides who wins and who loses. And Senseiman was like, okay.
Yeah, sure, whatever. That sounds fun.
It's like, this will let me get you to experience the true meaning of gourmet and change your mind and prove that you were wrong. I mean, I could just be a stubborn asshole and not agree. No, I think that my plan will work.
Sounds like a good one.
There's some real confidence in the abilities of Soma and Erina that they will blow the fuck out of Zami's mind.
Well, our groundwork's set, but I'll save that for the end of the chapter.
Time passes, night falls, and so, Courage and the other one are talking to Azami while lying in provocative poses on the bed of his room. You sir are a cruel father, Azami. For that poor child to have her own father say such things to her in front of the entire crowd, she must be in shock. Oh, yeah, it's no wonder she's acting so rebellious. Wait, a father like you. And Azami just like, I did what had to be done. My daughter has been contaminated. We must bring her to Central's fold as quickly as possible to purify her of the plague they've infected her with. But most of all, I require her. My daughter is the key to assuring all chefs across the world will be guided along the correct path. I'm just waiting for the moment for one of the girls to just go, you're going to come to bed? Like, we've been, like, lying down like this for literally 2 hours while you just stare at the moon while drinking coffee.
He's like, no, this is dramatic.
I must reacquire my daughter and reclaim her from the plague she has been infected with. Oh, gosh. It sure is nice being able to make out with another buxom, hot woman, but it sure would be nice to have, a svelte, hardened man between us to just sandwich between our respective boobs and asses.
He's like, I bet that does sound like it would be very good. Like,
people who are into that or something. I don't know. The only thing that, the only way I was able to have Erina was because I get it up whenever I think about food,
Great. They're just like, man, my ass sure hurts after a whole long day of not wearing any underwear. He's just like, that does sound like it would be rather unpleasant. My, that moon is glorious tonight.
Having that Rindo girl's food really made me want to try to sample another type of eel. I was like, oh, yes, and what kind of sea creature would you like to sample in this case?
It's just like, what seasoning would you use on it? Like, male seasoning. He's like,
something really nice and salty and bitter.
She's like, never heard of that seasoning before.
Why would you want something salty and bitter in that kind of dish? I don't get it.
He pulls out his phone. He's like,
really corrupt the umami of the dish.
Get me some of this male seasoning I've heard about. I must try it to see if it will be good for my cuisine.
Courage, I don't know what you're talking about. This weird milky stuff doesn't go on this meat dish at all.
He's like, I had 4 pounds of that seasoning, and I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the flavor. Like,
I've tried it in so many different types of dishes, including the ones that you have suggested, including cock, cucumber, sausage.
She's like, fuck us, you stupid asshole. He's just like, now you're just being uncouth.
Also, why did you put your last dish between your legs? I don't understand. It is not an ideal dish from which to sample it.
It's just been eating gum for the last few days. He's like, I must sample every dish to make sure it is not the top cuisine. She's like, oh, fucking god damn it.
That's it. I'm joining the rebellion too.
Holy fuck. All right.
We cut over to the rebellion store. So Arena says, like, right, so Yuki and I need to, plan. First off, we need to establish who's going to make which course, who's going to do the appetizer, who's going to make the entree, and then we'll, of course, discuss who's going to, do specific dishes so that we can actually coordinate together. Sounds like a solid plan, in theory. But someone's like, guys, all of you, stand around stuff, making suggestions and everything. Yeah, we don't need everyone here making suggestions. That's, too much input. We're just going to get confused.
Oh, it's cool.
Probably one of the most straightforward, smartest, most logical things Soma has ever done in this series.
It's not Soma, it's Koga.
That is Koga, you're right. That's why it sounds so smart.
Well, I noticed it because he said you two first years in reference to Megumi and Takumi, and I was like, why would he call them that? And I was like, oh, it's Koga, because you actually see Soma in the panel.
Right. And I don't even know if it's yeah. So it is Kuka, right? Making that suggestion. So then he's like, right, guys, we're just gonna wait for them to win. So everyone get out of here. Also, all-nighters aren't good for your skin. Now go to bed and get your beauty rest. Kuka does look like the kind of guy who would be concerned with that kind of thing, honestly. Play into stereotypes, dude.
I mean, he's got two-toned fucking hair. Of course he has to spend time
doing
this show.
Be from Yu-Gi-Oh, Chris. You don't know.
Yugi probably still had to spend some time on his hair.
But you've seen brains now, Chris. You know that everyone naturally has it.
Well, now it's genetic. This was evolution. All the Yugi characters with really bright, over-the-top hair, they bred, so their children had hair more prone to just naturally sticking up that way. And after generations and generations, now two-toned wacky hairstyles is the norm. You're a freak if you've got one color of hair. What's wrong with you?
So Erina and Soma get to planning while Ishiki and Takumi and Megumi seemingly mostly just watch. But they're, deeply involved in conversation. We do also cut around a little bit to the other rebellion members as they're just kind of trying to rest, but clearly not having much success. And I do like, those little details, just, them just kind of hang out in different ways, trying, to just not look too far ahead. And then we reach the next morning. And, we got, a little bit of, crowd noise and stuff, and then we established that Rindo and Tsukasa are ready to go. Tsukasa says that he feels as if he's actually in near peak condition. He's not too fatigued from the last match. So didn't do your job, Ishiki. Didn't do your job.
No, he didn't. What I don't get though is why they keep trying to, I hope this doesn't play a factor, because I don't understand why the council has this issue when no one from the Resistance has this issue. Like, it's never been like a thing that like Soma and them are just like, we're too tired to cook again today. Like, they just sit around and fuck around all day.
Honestly, it might have just been, a gimmick in order to prevent Tsukasa and Rindo from running the board.
Yeah,
so.
I have to imagine so, but it really does feel like an awkward thing to like just like be like, no, it's a real thing. They're really tired from cooking.
Rindo says she's doing the appetizer, Tsukasa's doing the main dish, and then the first years see that, oh, hey, there's Ashiki and Takumi and Megami coming out. It's like, oh, wow, they don't look like they got much sleep. Guys, what Ishiki, what's going on? Who did you reach a decision? And then, of course, Arina and Soma come in, also looking incredibly sleep-deprived, and they proceed to have a rock, paper, scissors match to finally decide who's going to be the one to make the main dish. They've spent all night doing this. They could have done this overnight, and they're only doing it now.
I love it because one, it fits,
adore this.
It fits to the goal I ultimately want out of this, but more so, it's so fitting for the two of them that they like reach their conclusion at this point. To like, all right, we'll do rock paper scissors, go.
They spent presumably at least 12 hours reaching this decision.
Only way it's gonna work.
Oh gosh! But this means that Arina is going to do the main dish. Soma is going to do the appetizer, which means, technically speaking, Soma is matched up against Rindo and Arina against Tsukasa, as we kind of wanted to happen, although they are still being judged as units.
Yes.
As opposed to individually. So, we'll see how this is going to work out then. Did they actually decide who was going to do what in, or are they going to have to do a little bit more improv in this case? I guess we'll see.
It's an interesting situation because there's no theme they have to work with beyond like a true gourmet dish, and it's very interesting to think like how they're going to try to work around that. Basically, like what are they going to do? Because Soma's specialty has always been not really having like an ideal food group he works best with. He seems to work best with like surprise dishes and home cooked meals made into gourmet. So having him go in with something completely open is like a kind of unique situation for him to be in.
Oh, and Arina still doesn't really have an established specialty either. So
yeah.
So Rindo has bizarre ingredients as her specialty. Tsukasa has French cooking. So you could imagine potentially some ideas that they could come up with. But yeah, neither of the two Resistance members have an actual category that they're strong in. So. Yeah. But I guess we'll see. I'm really pumped for this. This was actually, got me really excited for this climax. So,
yeah, I've been saying this for a while now. I wanted Arina to have sort of a big point in the final fight of all this because this is ultimately her arc. This is all about her relationship with her father, and she is going to have the center stage dish on her team. So I'm really happy about that. I feel like this is a kind of good way to set this up because the easy way for the story to continue on, and they've already laid the groundwork for us, is that Tsukasa will probably still have the best dish, but their team will ultimately probably lose because Rindo will be subpar. She will still make a great dish, but they sort of set up that she's not all together right now. There's something kind of holding her back, and generally that comes out through the cooking in a pretty obvious way. So Tsukasa may make the best dish, and you could preserve him as this threat that Soma can't necessarily beat one-on-one, but in a group combination, their team will ultimately come out ahead.
I want to make a prediction, actually.
Okay.
Which is, I don't think that Rindo is going to be holding back in any way. I think that she's just going to go in a direction that is not suitable for her team. Because of that rebellious attitude that she has. I think that she's going to make the best individual dish that she can make, but it's not going to match up with Tsukasa or with Central's idea of true gourmet, and that's going to, as a result, create a contrast between their dishes, and it won't work. As opposed to Arina and Soma have an ability to actually coordinate properly. So
it'll be interesting to see. There's definitely
Rindo will be too much of a wild card.
All right.
All right, Chris. It's that time again. We're going to talk. Actually, do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk a little at all about Jujutsu Kaisen? Because, confession, I unfortunately did not manage to read it this week. I did not get around to it.
I don't have a ton to say about Jujutsu Kaisen. I did read it, but I kind of skimmed through a lot of it just because I was running a little short on time. But it's essentially like a supernatural series about almost like a supernatural club at school. And it's sort of a little bit like Bleach in initial premise. Like, monsters exist in the world. Not everyone seemingly can see them. It's okay. It's not a bad opening chapter. There is one kind of unique premise to it, and that one of the main characters at the end of it turns out that he's a demon, or he's become a demon kind of thing. So there's something kind of intriguing there, where like the hero and the other main hero are kind of already at like an odd sort of situation between the two of them. But it's still tough to tell. I'll give it definitely another read through, and then hopefully try to have more to really say about next week. But the first chapter didn't do anything to really blow me away, and it's probably just because the whole premise feels very much like a Bleach in initial premise. So it may very well be better than that once it gets some time to kind of develop itself out. All right, so let's move on then to We Never Learn chapter 160. Chapter 53, Sometimes the Proximal X is Green and Quick. So this chapter deals with two friends of Yuiga and Takamoto, which is really good because I don't remember either of their names, so I'm just going to call them Takamoto friend and Yuiga friend.
So is there no time to get stoned, Chris? Is that what's going on?
Oh, are we not doing Dr. Oh, right, Dr. Stone was
well, I mean, we can do We Never Learn first, I guess.
I'm already on We Never Learn now at this point.
Do it.
I got mixed up in the order there. My bad. So
just do it.
Yuiga's friend kind of introduces himself. He's like, "Hey, you know, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a little bit."
This is our second straight Yuiga's friends chapter. So,
yeah, I guess they're trying to maybe make them a little bit more of characters in this. Basically, this is a chapter between Yuiga and Takamoto, which is always nice. That's when We Never Learn is better than Nisekoi. And basically, they're just she's talking like, "Oh, I should really get a new notebook because I use this one all summer, but maybe I should get another one now." And he's like, maybe we don't need to. They just need to kind of dig deeper in this. So they're having sort of this connection there. And their friends
also,
are
it's one of those moments where, there's actual study techniques being gone over and stuff, which is also one of the points where We Never Learn shines. So
yeah. So their friends are watching on, kind of like being like, there's something definitely going on between you two. And they have a brief discussion about their friendships and everything else like that, how they kind of know these people. They're walking home then together, and they pass by a bench, and they see their friends, and as they're like about to call out to their friends, it's like each of their individual friends up there, the two of them start to kiss. So the two, Yuiga and Takamoto are really nervous because holy shit, they're teenagers. They saw two people kiss. And they like go and they hide behind the bushes. And it's like, oh wow, like it's super obvious they're definitely together right now. So they kind of have this nervous thing. They don't take the same bus home because they don't want to be on the same bus as the couple. So the bus they get on home is basically all alone. They're like, yeah, it's really awkward. We just saw two of our friends kind of getting into a romance together. And, Yuiga has this moment where he's like, it feels like my old friend just suddenly grew up. It's like, it's kind of a nice sentiment, as the passage of time changed. And Takamoto brings up like, oh, well, you've already kissed someone too. And he's like, no, it doesn't, it didn't really count as a kiss. It was, it was more of an accident. She's like, yeah, I get it. And she kind of, Yuiga starts to like fall asleep. He starts to like kind of get really tired. And then he notices that Takamoto's pressed up against him. And she's really close. And she leans in and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. And then Yuiga wakes up. He's like, what? What's going on? And, she's like, oh, it's our stop. So, let's pull on the thing. And he's just like, what the fuck? Where'd that dream come from? And she's like, oh, you had a dream. What was it about? And he can't, he's just like looking at her lips and everything like that. And I think the insinuation is that it actually was a dream. But
that's molestation, Chris.
But she keeps having like her finger on her lips. So there was a moment I was like, was it supposed to be real? Why did he wake up for the kiss, but he was conscious during the kiss? I don't know what's happening.
The implication is that he was, still very bleary when he was waking up, so he thought that he was asleep and dreaming when she kissed him on the cheek.
So there's that. And the chapter ends with them kind of cutting back to the school and the two friends admitting, like, yeah, we're in a relationship with one another. Romance is in the air. And there's like a joke about like, oh, did we actually kiss yet? Like, well, that's a secret. And, the third wheels of their respective groups are just like, what? But then obviously, of course, Yuiga and Takamoto are like, no, they totally kissed, but we can't say anything about seeing it.
There's some artwork in this chapter that I really like. There's the bit where, Uruka, kisses Yuiga, and it's very sweet. Also, just the bit where she's sidling up against him very shyly. Also, they're on that long-ass bench in the back, and they are cramped together on it in the first shot you see of them, looking very embarrassed still. You'd think that, if they were actually embarrassed over that, what they saw their friends doing, that maybe they would have a little bit more distance between them to start.
Maybe they're not really embarrassed. Maybe they both want to.
Also, I think that the picture of, Fumi and whatever, they're friends.
They're friends.
Of the two of them kissing is very sweet, with the lighting on it, and it's just the pose that they're in. It's, seems very natural, like they're very comfortable around each other, and it's very sweet. And then, of course, you got that reaction that Uruka and Yuiga have, which is amazing. It's like some sort of like abstract art or something with all the angles and circles.
The eyes that have gone insane.
So, really good stuff. I like reading through this chapter.
Takamoto chapters in recent times, like when it's just the Takamoto chapter, have been really good chapters. And this is why I say We Never Learned It's Better Than Nisekoi. I'm going to make that statement again. We Never Learned It's Better Than Nisekoi. Bring on the Kirisu chapters.
4 straight Kirisu and Kirisu sister chapters.
I'll fucking be so angry if that's what happens next week. All right, now, Nick.
Wrap it up with more Fumino feeling, not because she's flat-chested chapters.
Oh, shit. Should she be embarrassed? What? Nick.
Okay,
it's time to get started!
All right. So anyway, guys, this week's Dr. Stone chapter is Z equals 48, science versus power. And I'm just going to very calmly and quietly talk about this and not get too worked up over it. And play a little bit of, calming violin music maybe in order to set the right mood for this very down-to-earth and not very exciting, but, maybe interesting chapter with lots of informative bits about the construction of katanas!
Oh, fuck yeah!
So, last time, of course, the Kingdom of Science revealed their secret weapon for taking on Hyoga and Tsukasa's forces, which was katanas, which they somehow crafted a whole bunch of in, 3 days. But, whatever. It's Dr. Stone. They do go over a bit of the scientific process of actually crafting a katana, including how, one side of the blade stays flexible while the other is hardened. And it has to do with the way that, clay is applied to the blade, and stuff. And of course, their craftsman is really, is really into all of this, even though he doesn't actually fully understand why scientifically it works out. But it's basically just, a couple of pages establishing this is why a katana is cool.
This is why you study the blade, Nick.
I also want to go over because, we've got the 5 of them taking on Hyoga's forces. You've got, Magma, Kohaku, Ginro, and Kinro, and the chief guy, whatever. And I want to go through these 3 little internal thoughts that we get as they're launching their attack forward. Because Ginro says, with Magma, Kohaku, and Kinro here, there's nothing to worry about. So he's not being his usual cowardly self because he thinks they'll be totally safe with them fighting by his side. Kinro is really, really excited. My vision's clear now, so this is the power of glasses. Yeah, cool. Magma says, Mark! That's his great insight in this chapter. But they were really kicking ass up until Hyoga decides to step in. And he's like, your hands are all... it is not just your weapons. Your minds are also broken, it seems. Though I dare say that is Senku's intention, putting on a show and flaunting his katanas. However, the Kanryu style of my pipe spear will not lose to any sword. And suddenly it's a martial arts series for a little bit.
It's like, hey, draw my sword from the scabbard with such speed as to create a vacuum with which no blades can access.
And he strikes out quickly. He knocks Kohaku down. He knocks Magma's sword out of his hand, nearly kills Ginro before Kinro manages to come in and block with his shield, and just completely turns the tide of the battle when he's going 1-on-5 against all of them. And Gin pipes in from the sidelines. He's like, hey, those are the 3 strongest people in the village, so if you defeat them here, then it's all over if you win, Hyoga. And Hyoga's like, I get it. That's actually pretty obvious. And Magma and Kohaku are like, that asshole betrayed us. What the fuck? But Kinro's like, no, he's actually trying to convey a message to us, which is we need to work together in order to defeat this guy. That's why he's singling us out and saying that and he's basically saying we need to work together. And of course, Magma rushes forward to go to attack the guy 1-on-1 because, of course, he does.
Well, here's the thing: if he had an axe, he'd be able to complete the Fire Emblem Trinity, and he'd beat Spears. So they needed an axe. This was Senku's fault.
You fool! You've crafted spears. At the very least, construct a spear slayer sword.
You fool! You need a lance reaver. What are you doing?
But Kohaku quickly coordinates an attack, saying, "Hey, give me a boost so that I'll launch forward." While Magma is, giving him a blind spot. But instead of vaulting off of one of their hands, she jumps off of the tip of Kinro's sword.
Jumps off the top of it with what we don't describe nearly often enough as the very impractical footwear of high heels, all based around like one singular point in like the strong middle of the foot, not even at like the tips or the base of the heel of the foot. It's straight in the middle of it, and it seems she just propels herself off of a corner of that. Sure. Unfortunately,
as she launches and like backflips somersaults over Magma while he's engaged with Hyoga, Hyoga immediately reacts and turns his spear upward, and she's like, okay, well, but as long as I can, get the first strike in. But as she's thinking that, suddenly the spear starts spinning in front of her, and explained that, he's by twisting his right hand, that's amplified through the pipe, using it as a fulcrum. This allows the spear tip to trace a full circle. This technique is unique to the Kanryu style. And because of this, Kohaku can't keep track of the spear, and she thinks that it's going to gut her. But at that moment, suddenly the tip of the spear falls apart completely.
What? Why would it do that?
And so everyone just kind of like stops instead of, I guess Kohaku was just like, oh shit, I'm going to die. That she forgot, oh right, well, if his spear fell apart, I can just take him out right here. But Hyoga just kind of like stops in the middle of fighting. It's just like, and he realizes that there is a notch cut in the spear near where the tip was. And he says, like, a stone tool could never make that clean of a cut through the strap. It was made especially hard to detect so that the spear would fall apart when force was applied. A brilliant bit of trickery. And immediately Gen is shouting from the sidelines, like, really? Who could do that?
Who would do such an awesome, smart move?
And yeah, it's established that when he was examining the spear in the previous chapter, he wasn't actually examining it. He was sabotaging it using a tiny blade. And Hyoga's like, yeah, it's a pretty good job that you did there, you dirty traitor's turncoat. And Gen's like, what? No! Why would you say such hurtful things? Yeah, I did it.
I love like the immediate. He's like, get the jigs up.
Check out how my scar mark looks like the Joker's face.
It does.
We get a flashback explaining exactly what happened, which was that Senku actually sent super great detective Suika off to track down Gen and provide him with this little tool. And he basically just said, like, there will be, certain things that, they'll leave, there'll be signs left behind, something that we'd be able to read and only we would be able to. And sure enough, she finds that it's a bunch of flower petals that have been scattered behind, left kind of being flowing out from Gen's sleeves as they walked away from the village. And she recognized them as the same things that Gen used to make his great big entrance during the tournament match between Magma and Chrome. And also, they're growing. She's finding them in places where they wouldn't naturally be growing. So she rolls along, finds little patches here and there, and follows them like breadcrumbs until eventually she was able to catch up to the group and toss this tiny little blade over to Gen and use that to sabotage the spear. And as we catch up to the present, Gen just says, "I even set the stage right. You see, Houndsberry is my favorite flower. Foreign flower symbolism. It means liar." Pretty badass. And we get this triumphant little thing of Senku and Gen working together allowed this to happen, kind of thing.
Is it really blades of science though?
Blades of science.
It's really the blades of deception and trickery.
The blades of being a douche.
There wasn't much science to the fact that they followed a trail and then threw a knife in there.
I do like that it's like, the blades of science. Here, use this to sabotage his spear, which he made with science.
Something with actually far more science to it than just like your sharp knife.
Oh, God. But I did like it. Also, we actually get, when Gen catches the sleeve, this is something that there was actually a lot of discussion going on Twitter about this chapter, and including stuff about katanas and the symbolism throughout it. The meaning of the moon and Hyoga's name, and also the flower symbols and stuff. And Gen has, we see a brief shot of stuff up his sleeve when he catches the blade that Suika tosses to him. He's got a whole ton of tiny little bags concealed within it, which could contain all sorts of good stuff. So, but really fun chapter. I did like this, and I liked the way that Gen really got to be. It's not so much what he did as the way he was acting. It was like, who would do such a really smart thing?
It couldn't be me. What? No.
Why you think? What? That's really hurtful. Yeah.
Me.
All right. Let's move on then from one super deceptive chapter to another with the Promised Neverland. Chapter 77, The Foolish Weaklings. So the rebels... Go ahead.
Unlimited power.
Okay, guys, we're going to launch this plan in order to take on our captors and our hunters. We're going to rise up because
I could just lightning them off a building.
Well, our plan didn't account for the fact that they could just lightning us to death, so... let's just cry ourselves to sleep tonight.
Samuel Jackson's like, I might have survived. Mace Windu could have survived that. It's like, sure.
No.
You got lightninged off a building 400 stories, maybe onto like a dump truck. That all works.
Oh, come on. Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. No.
No, he didn't.
That's because you read a novel that said he did. No. All right. So the rebels are enacting their plan to take on their captors. Set up some explosions as a distraction. And we see a bunch of the hunters reacting independently to all of this, including, of course, Luvis, who's just like...
He's very excited.
Yeah. Also, I never noticed he's got a little... He's got a little pet monkey demon thing.
Yeah, of course he does. It's old Ibog, and he has many great adventures. He has a kid show, actually.
He's got a...
Luvis doesn't show up on the kid show a lot for obvious reasons, but...
He's in the opening credits, though, because he's got, like, a producer role or something like that.
But Blub Blub's Happy Island Adventures...
You changed his name twice in the 2 times you said it.
It's, Cucamongo is, he's just beloved by the children. That's actually the real joy of the show, is everyone gets to have their own name for him.
There's just like a Mad Lib for the title of the show.
It's like, this week on insert name here. What will happen when Johnny has to go on his grand adventure?
They have to mention his name 3 times during the introduction to each episode.
It's Mongo and Bongo. He's both of those. Now he's Frank. So, like, I don't know what his fucking name is, but that monkey's kind of cute, I guess.
The recording artist makes so much money because he has to record so many different versions.
They're like, I don't know why we went with this gimmick. This is a really bad gimmick.
It's really expensive.
This is costly. There's no branding to this at all. The kids never know what to call them or say, like, what they want from their parents.
The branding is awful. Like, they look through the TV guide and they're like, I don't know what the show is called this week.
Is it this Gullah Gullah Island? Is he an island now? What's happening?
Right.
Is he this Eureka guy? Does he have a castle now?
So, plan goes into action. We get our cover page, which is our character of the week, whose name I kept on forgetting. I had to look it up on the Promised Neverland Wikia and then verify it in the Viz version to make sure that it was actually spelled correctly, because you know how Wikias are. And even when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if this is a boy or a girl. Again.
Oh, it's definitely a girl. Come on.
It seems like a girl, but the name is spelled Gillian.
Yeah, like Jillian. Isn't that it?
It's spelled with a G.
Yeah,
if you call a girl Jillian, you should spell that with a J.
But that's what fucking what's her name? The Nebula and the chick from fucking Doctor Who. Gillian
That doesn't
Anderson.
count, Chris. That's British.
Oh, I'm fucking sorry for all these fucking...
That's not proper English. Come on.
That is true. They are the bastards of our world.
They put a U
Oh, wait.
in color.
That's Karen Gillian. Gillian Anderson, though, is the chick from X-Files, though, isn't it? Isn't that Scully? Nick, you have to know some of this.
I don't know these things, Chris. Anyway, the character wears a beanie, so I'm just going to call them Forsyth Pendleton III anyway. So
fair enough.
Tune into our Riverdale bonus episode, guys. So Forsyth Pendleton III is our character focus of this week. And get a flashback from them. All the losses that they have suffered. Sister dying, for one thing. That's bad. Seeing children snatched away. Seeing, of course, other people crying over things. And we also get a flashback from the perspective of Amelia Earhart. Let's call that the person with the flight helmet. Why not? Amelia Earhart, who is probably actually a boy. But Amelia Earhart also suffered loss.
Happy International Women's Day, everybody. We just took one of the most iconic historical women of all time. And they're like, you're a boy now. for the purpose of a joke, you're a boy.
Why? The Red Baron.
He was a Nazi, wasn't he?
You name another male pilot then.
Snoopy. God damn it.
Snoopy, rival of the Red Baron. Here's the World War I flying ace.
For those scenes of the peanut stuff that you always skipped over because it was never amusing. Even when it was like playing in the 60s, everyone was like, what's this old ass Red Baron shit? Why is Snoopy doing this boring no Snoopy shit, Mom?
It's like that with that one actually funny joke from Family Guy where Brian looks in the comics and he sees Marmaduke, and Marmaduke's in the really small doghouse, and then Brian just goes, he's too big for that doghouse. So Anyway, all of the less important characters from the Resistance, the rebels, are having flashbacks of all the losses that they've suffered. That's the important part of this, 2-page sequence. And then Forsyth Pendleton III is the one that gets the focus. Starts just opening fire on the demons. Starts by going after their leader and hits the mask dead on. And they're like, "Look, she's over there!" And Forsyth Pendleton III has a pair of machine guns now with just ammo just coming down in belts off of them.
So
opens fire, which from a position that, by the way, the recoil on those things would knock her off of that tree.
Oh, her arms would be shattered. They'd be shattered.
She would drop them after approximately 5 rounds because she doesn't even have the shoulder rests propped up against anything. She is barehanding both of those.
I'm going to guarantee this, though. When this series becomes an anime, that's going to be a gift that gets shared around a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I love that this series has, to this point, been all about, like, out-thinking and out-strategizing. And at one point, they were just like, so part of our strategy is you need to one-hand AR-15s. You need to double-hand a bunch of assault rifles with an entire belt.
Just makes its way into the NRA's freaking viral marketing campaigns. If the kids in the Promised Neverland had guns, they would not get eaten.
It's like, they had guns. A lot of them still got eaten.
They're getting eaten all the time. Oh, gosh. So the leader immediately freaks out because he realizes she's aiming for my eyes. So she's like, maybe the girl from the Gracefield house shared our weakness with all of them. Those assholes! No! Stop shooting my fucking mask! And so he orders forward his units, like, kill them! Drag them down from the tree! Kill them! And it's basically just a very, very long freak out that he has over the course of 5 pages. So that's most of this chapter. And they're just getting peppered with bullets as the demons slowly try and make their way up the tree in order to kill her. She's, of course, forced to dodge around. And meanwhile, the leader is going, useless, 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 it's all useless. Exactly.
I'm angry they didn't do that. I'm really angry they didn't just do it.
Also, he has hands for feet.
Yeah, of course he does. He's a demon. That's like their thing. Feet hands.
And he's really getting pissed off because occasionally, a bullet hits him in the head. But he's like, they're going to run out of bullets soon. Look, I can tell. Look, their clips are almost empty. And he's like, all right, good. Now I'll go kill him. All of my subordinates are dead? Ow!
That is fucking bullshit.
Hacks! I call hacks!
I fucking hate aggro.
Unban this hacker!
I fucking hate aggro decks. You're lame. No one likes you.
How dare you? You get an auto headshot.
Using aimbot.
And so Forsyth Pendleton III and their partner come down from the trees. And so with the World War I flying ace backing her up, she says, we weren't aiming for you. We know all about you. That your mask is super hard and that your subordinates' weak spots are under the masks. And we get a flashback explaining from Lucas that, the subordinates have the same hard masks as the leaders do, but with a different structure. So they've got the strengthened part around the eyes, but the other parts can actually be broken. So you have to kill the subordinates first and aim from the side in order to break them, because bullets won't pierce through the front. So the plan was to keep shooting them so that they won't have time to rejuvenate, then shoot them from the side so that the masks come off, their faces are exposed, and you can shoot them in the eye. As long as the masks are gone, you can aim for the weakness. And their job was to accomplish this without anyone realizing it. And in order to accomplish that, they're like, just play off of the freaking idiot demon master's personalities, which is freak them out, piss them off, and get them to not notice that his minions are being picked off as a result. And without minions, he doesn't have nearly as much battle strength. And sure enough, even though he's a fucking demon with a protective, unbreakable mask on, he backs up against the tree like, no! 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 Please let me eat you. Don't kill me. Let me eat you.
Let's go back to the part where I was going to eat you. That was fun.
Let's you and me talk this over like reasonable people. Go to my bodacious mansion where I have lots of your old friends frozen in my freezers like hanging pigs, and then we'll sit down for a nice meal where I eat you. Wouldn't that be fun?
Let's both have our favorite dish as we discuss these things. What do you like? Steak? I have tons of steak. And I will just have a small sampling of you, and we'll dash this out and we'll really figure it out.
Steak is not good enough for you. I'll get you a quiche. I'll get you a souffle. I'll get you a roast, and while you're waiting for your pie, I'll just be nibbling on your legs. Yeah. And it'll be good.
And we'll hash this out.
I'll have brains for dessert. You won't have the capability to chew because I'll be eating your brains, but that's what we'll have for dessert.
I'm going to get you Five Guys and In-N-Out. I can get you both. I will get you both, and then I'll just have a little sampling of your spleen and your livers, and we'll hash this out. We'll be adults about this. Let's do that. You know? Hashtag me too, is what I'm saying. That's not what the hashtag's about.
What do you say? Best buddies doing like finger guns with all four hands.
Yeah, he's like, come on! You and me! Hat girl!
Gun girl!
Old
Hamilton, what's your name? I don't actually know your name.
Old Hatto! Hatsy McGee, that's what we called each other. We had nicknames. We had fun nicknames for each other.
Pins on a beanie girl. Are you a girl? I can't tell. You all taste the same to me.
Yeah. I'll know when I start eating you, because women have a very different taste.
That's true feminism, not distinguishing between the males and females that you eat after killing them in a horrible, dehumanizing hunt.
You know, to me, you're all equal. You're all the same food. And when I say food, I mean...
It doesn't matter what trappings you have in life, because in the end, you're all going to die, and the same beings are going to feast on you, that being me, when I eat you.
But of course, again, let's pull the gun back a bit. Let's talk this over like reasonable adults. I mean, you're still a child, which is why I want to eat you now while you're in the prime of your life. Because that does add the extra flavor. But again, Five Guys and...
Kill me if you will, but grant a dying man his last request. A last meal, if you will, which will be you.
It's going to be you with an apple in your mouth, roasted at 400 degrees with a very succulent garlic butter sauce.
I will begin by eating your hands so you can't pull that trigger.
You don't take the gun with you. You don't need that in the oven where you'll be going. Look, I want one last request. Take this this barbecue sauce bath over here. Marinate yourself. Really get it in every crevice.
With going to the woods with the Revenant Bear and just let me have the leftovers that he doesn't eat.
I set up a giant cauldron of ranch dressing over there. If you'd like to just take a real quick dip in that, I'm just going to light at the bottom for no reason, none at all. You just really go refresh, wake yourself up.
Maybe his plan is just to talk them to death, honestly.
It's just like, now this all worked out, right? I took 20 minutes of your life away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Forsyth Pendleton III closes out the chapter by saying, Lucas also told us that you are weak without your subordinates. It's game over, so say your prayers, spoiled brat. And she just takes his mask off. Like, just leans forward, and with the gun in his face. So, turns out some of these hunters are actually really, really not scary. So there you go.
We kind of got that. I'll be curious if this actually results in him dying. Because
it does not fire the gun at the end of the chapter. So there is still a possibility that there might be some sort of a twist in this. Maybe the distraction against Luvis did not work out as planned, for example. Maybe he's going to save this dumbass again and just start to take out the rebels one by one.
Yeah,
it's possible.
We shall see.
Maybe he'll live another, or maybe his plan to beg off actually works. Who knows? You know, these kids never engaged in debate classes. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, they don't know how the finer points of don't get distracted by this guy who's trying to eat you. What's
a filibuster?
Sounds delicious. All right, let's move on to Seven Deadly Sins, chapter 257, When Making a Sortie. And we all have to remember what happened last week, which was Arthur had the upper hand, then did not. It turns out none of that worked, and as he was leaving, the demon who was not Chandler gave him a parting gift of taking control of him just long enough to impale himself with Excalibur. And that's where our chapter starts off, as we are looking through Arthur's eyes as Merlin and Elizabeth are trying to save him. They're not sure what happened. They seem to get the idea that somebody used this power against him. It seems that Elizabeth saying that there's nothing they can do if they can't take the sword out of him. Arthur won't let go of the sword. And we see the last remnants of that demon's word saying, I'm not done with you yet, boy. I'm going to use the last of your strength to destroy your
I'm not finished with you!
And Merlin saying the last words of Arthur, you lied to me. As we get our cover page, which is a series of different scenes of Arthur and Merlin training throughout his time. So we start off the chapter, and one of the, I guess, Ludachel's, like, holy war commandment guys comes up and is like, hey, Princess Elizabeth is requested to go with several representatives of her choosing from the Seven Deadly Sins, and they're getting ready for that. Hawk has a very brief moment of saying, like, hey, you know, don't let it get you down, but hey, I know how you really feel. Cheer up. All right? And it cuts over to Kaith, and Kaith is fucking like the most murderous, horrifying face you have ever seen in your life. This is the shit you're gonna see in your nightmares from now on. It's just a dismembered cat head bleeding out of its eyes, grinding its fangs against each other, going, why? It's like, shit.
Where the fuck did this thing come from, Chris?
I vaguely recall it, but I don't remember a lot. It's surely showing up a lot, and now I can't ever forget it. This thing is terrifying. But from this, we can grasp something very important, and that seems to be that Arthur did not survive that last-ditch attack, and he does seem to be dead. As we cut over to Merlin, kind of looking over him as his body is laying there, motionless. Well, technically hovering there because they're floating his body, which maybe isn't the best thing for it, but I don't know.
No, because the sword point is going through all the way to the ground, so they couldn't lie him down
my
properly.
God! Is that the sword?
That's the sword tip. That's not anyone's feet.
I like the idea that they bedded the sword in the ground. Like, he sticks straight perfectly like that. He doesn't slide down. Like, it really wedged in there. That's really solid. And Merlin has this discussion about he was a boy who concealed immeasurable genius and unknown magic to him, and the first time I felt it felt like it was fate, but in the end he didn't realize the potential he had. If only he had, then, oh, Arthur, weren't you meant to show me a world that I'd never known? And she sort of reminisces about this. You know, she starts thinking, like, is your soul, where is it now? Is it still in your body, or is the sword already absorbed it and it's moved on to look for its next master? And Escanor's trying to, like, psych himself up for what he'll say to her. He's, like, outside the room, and he's like, even without that boy, I'll protect you. No, he's ready to knock, but he can't. And,
well, and he overhears the conversation, too.
Yeah, so. He hears it because Elizabeth says, Arthur meant the world to you, didn't he? And she says, human beings aren't meant to live that long, and I've already forgotten what face I'm supposed to make in a time like this, or even what I'm feeling. Right now, my eyes are only shrouded in darkness. And it's a very sweet sentiment. We get this sort of exchange between Elizabeth and Merlin where she's like, bless you. And, you know, they're sort of reminiscing to the fact that they've shared a very long life together. This is not the first time, you know, they've interacted several times before. And thinking about this actually brings Merlin to genuine tears. She says, it's been 430 years. The last time was when I ate Melodious's original dish, Demon Frog Liver Cake. And this conviction brings Merlin up. She stands up and she says, you know, she's ready to go do this. She says, I'm no match for you, even though I'm immune to even the goddess's brainwashing. But no matter what the strain is, I swear I'll lift this curse on you and stop Melodious from becoming the demon lord. And she says this with the conviction that she refuses to let anyone else important to her die. And the team that is going off to this sortie is Elizabeth, Merlin, and Escanor, who is not looking very good. They note, like, oh, Merlin seems a lot more hopeful. Escanor does not. And
well, the thing specifically that made him turn away from the door was Elizabeth, in trying to comfort Merlin, saying, that Arthur meant to her what Meliodas means to Elizabeth. So I was going to like, shit.
fuck.
Even my pride can't let me put myself ahead of that.
And I will say, I love Merlin. I think she's been great these last couple chapters. I love these moments. It is that moment though where I'm just like, God, I wish she was wearing more like practical clothes, because it's just that moment where like she's walking around.
She's wearing panties that have a heart on the crotch. Like, come on.
It's not even that, but it always feels like they're just like, I don't know. There's something like the way they're drawn, just like it feels like it's such a weird fabric that she's wearing or something like that. Like I can't put my finger on it, but it always takes away from it. Like usually I'm able to just ignore it, but it's like they're not even like booty shorts. It's like she literally has just forgotten to put on clothes at some point during the day. It's just like no one's said anything to her or something. I don't know. They actually go through a bit of their meeting, and I won't go over all the details of it because not all of them are really all that significant. The main thing to note is that Elizabeth's not actually part of like the main assault force. She and the rest of the 7 citizens are actually going to be part of like a sweeping team. The big thing to kind of note is Ludichelle is going to be taking kind of an advanced role, and she wants Hendrickson to be one of the people that goes along as one of her personal bodyguards. And everyone's like, no, we can't. He'll be one of the commanders of the defense force. We can't just do that. But she's like, hey, it's what he requested. And Gil says, I'll go too. So Gil Thunder will go along, and Ludichelle has this moment where she's like, oh, of course, I'll gladly have you. We're meant to fight alongside one another. So,
well, Gil also says something very interesting, which is that, hey, Henderson's going to protect you, so I'm going to go protect Margaret.
Yeah, it's very clearly he's not trusting of this chick. So, and he's very upset that she's taken over Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
And our chapter ends with our 2 demon lords kind of just like preparing themselves, laughing about like, oh, all the races.
Let's color invert, boy.
Yeah, that's how it is. They're like, it looks like it's time for our real time to shine, dozing. He's like, you said it, pacifier. And we see the 2 of them basically like Dragon Ball Z transform into like, we're too old to rampage. Let's do it anyway.
Oh boy, I do really like the beginning of the chapter. By the way, Arthur's not dead. He's so not done in this series. It's amazing. Even if he is actually dead, they have literally already set up like the whole way that he could still be involved in the story. But I don't think he's dead because of the whole unlocked potential thing. Just doesn't seem doesn't seem very shonen to pull something like that. So
no, but I do like that he wasn't just like stabbed and survived. Like it seems like there's got to be an actual consequence, at least narratively, for a period of time to him happening. So I like that being an aspect of this for right now.
Yeah.
I like this chapter a lot, though. I love what we got out of Merlin from it. I thought it was really cool to see everything that kind of developed with her. She's become so much more of an interesting character over the past couple months. I've always kind of liked her, but now I'm really definitely like digging her vibe. And
also having Chandler and Dozing, it's something to note that over the last couple of months since their introduction, that there have been really big effects to them joining up with Zeldris and the rest. With Meliodas leaving and joining up with them, and Pacifier trying to do all sorts of shit, and Dozing now successfully, seemingly killing Arthur. So there are consequences to them actually, going around, and so
they weren't just new designs to get pushed around. Like
right.
Chandler's already fucked up the 7 deadly sins altogether, basically. So
yeah. All right, let's talk then about Black Clover, page 147, an end and a beginning. Where's the king? I'm not dead yet. I've got more final words to say.
I want every chapter of the fucking Black Clover from henceforward to start with a couple pages of the Wizard King's last thoughts and sentiments to everybody. He's like, I just wanted everybody to know you've all been my treasured children. I always loved you. I'm going to catch you guys in a week. I want to give you guys my fudge recipe.
Yami's there at the beginning of each chapter, still really broken up. No, King Julius, you can't die. He's like, the next ever coming? No, they're never coming. But do you have anything else? Yes.
He's like, I want to stay long enough to see Infinity War. He's like, that's good. They moved it up a week. He's like, I just stay around for it. I really enjoyed Phase 3. I think it was more consistently leveled than Phase 2 was. Yeah, I know. It's been pretty good. The television shows have unfortunately dipped in quality a little bit. And like, well, have you seen all the Punisher? No, I stopped halfway. Well, let's finish it up. He's like, all right, turn it on. Let's watch a couple.
It's so boring.
Like, it's just every week he comes back.
When are we getting to the part where they shoot each other?
Just keeps going through more random stuff. He's just like, are the Backstreet Boys back together again or not? I thought I heard they were, but they haven't released any new music, have they? I've always thought this world needed more great boy bands like them who seem to genuinely care about each other.
He dies at the end of each conversation and then just comes back the next week with like something else.
Next one, just to be like, you know, I thought Last Jedi was pretty good. I think it was a little overblown at both angles. It's not as good as some people are saying, not as bad as most people are saying. No, it's pretty good though. The Tara's casino thing was just unnecessary though. It's pretty.
Oh man, Rose was such a great character when she first appeared, and then they just kind of kept on like having diminishing returns every time she showed up. Every scene after that. Yeah.
I wish I had a daughter like Rose. Like it's always gotta end on like a sweet sentiment, but like the next chapter still just begins with doing nothing.
Oh god. You know, do you think that those kids should have fed themselves to that demon? I don't know. All right, page 147, end in the beginning. Julius says to Yami that, they had, first off, he brings up, hey, Leash actually had the power to potentially kill everyone in the country, even without the magic stones. But his real objective is something else. So something terrible may happen in this country. I'm sorry, he took my magic stones, which is an unacceptable blunder. And I was like, oh no, don't be so hard on yourself. He's like, oh man, I bet Marx will be mad at me. Too bad I won't be there to see Fuego Leon wake up. He's still not dead, guys. He's coming back.
Don't forget Fuego Leon.
And he just says, like, the rest is up to you. And we get a brief, series of flashbacks from Yami's perspective of, the times that he and the Wizard King spent together when he was much younger, and kind of the ways that he sort of oversaw his development, which is a nice touch. I like, some of the kind of random stuff that you see, like, it's like, here's how you actually write your name down, Yami. It's like, aw, that's kind of a sweet thing. And so Yami clearly wants to say a whole bunch of stuff, but instead he just salutes him and says, like, yes, sir. And the Wizard King's final words are, it was fun. I got to see all sorts of magic. I met all sorts of people. I had so much fun. It seems as though his death is confirmed by the fact that his tome disintegrates in the sky. So it seems he's definitely dead. I mean, never put it past Manga, but it seems pretty clear that he's probably dead.
I want the
he is definitely, certainly, probably dead.
I want the Clover Kingdom King to show up now. He's just like, Julius, I want to discuss the numbers for a recent tournament with. I'll come back. Be really shitty about it. He's like, I guess we'll do it later.
All right, we need to decide the way to have the next Wizard King.
He's like,
you know what that means, everyone.
A team competition! They're like, it can't be a team competition if you're trying to pick one person for a position.
Oh, gosh.
He's like, right. Oh, then it's Battle Royale. 1 versus 1 in 100.
Over the top Battle Royale. Here we go, everyone.
It's the only fair way to decide this. Everyone's like, God, I hate the Clover Kingdom King. He's so stupid.
Of course, by definition, in an over the top rope battle royal, all the favorites will be targeted unfairly first. But and let the dark horses have a chance. Oh gosh. We finally cut back to the invasion of the Illuminati Sun's base, specifically with Yuno's group, as they're progressing towards the core. And Yuno says as they rush in, Well, Mimosa says, but as they're rushing in, hey, man, the amount of mana coming up there is unbelievable, so be careful. But just says, I don't feel like I'd lose to anyone right now. So, lots of confidence surging through him. They get in there and they spot a figure, which appears to be leashed, glowing with a tremendous aura. It appears to be leashed. Could be a second leashed. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, he seems to share a body with William Vangeance, so maybe when he takes over William Vangeance's body, that's where he'd go otherwise.
That might be it, because the Vengeance leashed goes off and does other shit from this point in the chapter. He's standing before this, the stone tablet, which is the big part of their plans, and he's getting ready to set the final magic stone. And Leash says, when I do this, the Tree of Life monument will become the guide that will awaken true power. Everyone's like, yes, the time has finally come. Incredible magic will awaken in us since we were the people chosen by magic. This time I'll show this magic knights what kind of power I've really got. And Leash says, I'm proud of all of you. The time to make our long-cherished wish come true is finally here. Let's be reborn into our true forms and build a country of our own. What I've said up until now were the words of Leashed, leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. From this point on, I'll say what I really think. You people are greedy and selfish. You have no qualms about hurting other people, although you're terribly sensitive to your own pain. You envy, hate, and discriminate against others for trivial reasons, even though they're human, just like you. And that's all that matters. By thoroughly idolizing something, you justify your own weakness and sin. Everything, every last thing is for the sake of your own filthy lives. You humans really are selfish, hopeless, foolish, ugly creatures. Serve as the foundation of the resurrection. And he puts in the final magic stone. Huge glowy thing happens. The mountainside rumbles. And the surge of light surrounding the figure that and everyone else sees flashes. Leash comes out of it. Another leash? I don't know. And everyone's really freaked out, especially Mimosa, who's like, we need to run the fuck away. And then she realizes something's going on with Yuno. Now, I don't know what the implication here is. I'm relatively sure that I think that Yuno is just like, I'm going to fight him. But
I believe that's the implication. Why would there be the big reveal of the body waking up and moving if it was he took over Yuno's body or something like that?
Yuno has somehow been taken over or something like that. But it's just the way that it's done is just a little bit weird to kind of...
It's confusing because I thought the same thing.
A little bit of a confusing delivery.
I was like, oh, did it take over Yuno's body? And I was like, why would Yuno's body be taken over? I don't know.
I'm not really happy with
it. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised either way, but I do get the impression it's supposed to just be that this guy's really powerful. He's going to kick Yuno's ass, and Yuno's like, I'm going to fight him. I'm really not happy with the way that Leash was just like, okay, followers, you're going to, be my sacrifices now because that's what villains do. It's just whatever,
Well, I like it to a certain extent because I like him as the villain still calling out the hypocrisy of his own group where they all try to hold themselves morally right for being people who were unfairly in their minds persecuted by the Clover Kingdom or by various kingdoms. They've all kind of held that moral high ground, and then him at the end just being like, yeah, but you've always just judged them for this. You've still hurt people regardless of that fact. You're still not good people yourself, and this is what humanity as a culture really, or as a race just is at the end. I like that as his last move of almost saying to this point, I've just been playing you guys to a fiddle. I've never been the likable leader that you thought I was. I've always been a shithead. And now you guys are just going to be the first start of my new world. Boop. It's a dick move, but it makes for a good villain move in my mind. Look, because let's be real. No one gives a fuck about Rax and Sally and other dude. Who cares? They're gone. Whatever.
And now I shall introduce my true, most loyal follower, Lil Hody Jones. Yeah, that's right! This is all that filthy humans are good for!
Fuck the filthy humans! Oh, and I also brought Pero the dog because he's so cute.
This is what I did after I ran away from that bitch!
Down with humans!
He was overworked by his uncaring master.
Dog segregation forever!
Oh, gosh. All right. So that's Black Clover this week. The things are definitely swinging the side of the villains. We'll see how long that lasts. One Piece time! One Piece chapter 896. One last thing. Or one more thing.
One more thing!
Respect your elders. Open up the chapter with the group on the Cacao Island. It's about 30 minutes before the Straw Hats' scheduled meeting time. They're all waiting outside of the mirror that they pretty much know that Luffy has to come out of. So, yeah, but everyone's like, look, he's going to finish his fight against Katakuri and pop out of this mirror at 1 o'clock. It's possible that he won't even have, he'll just be running away from our brother Katakuri. So there you go. And they're like, well, what about Brûlé? Don't you need Brûlé to get through the mirror? It's like, yeah, but Brûlé probably could get captured,
Like, she does suck like that.
Sanji is watching from an alleyway in his special disguise cloak. And he's like, this could be really bad, assuming that he comes out of the mirror. What's going to happen here? So, hey, Pudding, when Luffy shows up, that's going to be it. We're just going to have to go our separate ways. Meanwhile, Pudding, of course, is at the other side of the alley because she doesn't like being near him. But he thinks back on their time that they've had together, when he was really excited when he first saw an image of her, when they had that meeting where they decided to get married tomorrow. And he says, it is kind of weird how we ended up in this situation when you think about everything. But, we're this is the point where we're going to say goodbye. So, hey, thanks for everything. And, of course, Pudding has the, internal, external conflict going on where she's like, oh, but, I tricked you and I tried to kill you. And, I don't know. I should be apologizing to you. And just, shut up!
You got to feel for her. I joked before, we made some comments before about Pudding really became a lot less interesting when she just became another kind of good character for Sanji or things like that. But I think she actually really carried herself well in this role that she did fall into, to the point where this parting is actually does feel like a sad moment. Yeah.
And so Sanji just kind of yeah, I get it, I guess we are still enemies, even though the wedding was a trap, a big fake show to be put up by the pirates. It's like, no, that's not right. No. But then he says, if somebody had to play the role of my fiance for this whole scheme of Big Moms, I'm glad it was you. And Pudding immediately is, breaking into tears over this, which is especially gross because she's got the 3 eyes to cry from. And Sanji's like, no, I wasn't making fun of you. Please don't cry. But Pudding just says, I have a request. One last thing before you go. And she reaches out and she takes his cigarette out of his mouth. And then cuts away. So she definitely kissed him, right? That's the implication, right?
I thought the implication is her last request is for him to stop smoking. That she wants him to live a healthy life. I thought that would be an extremely sweet sentiment. Or she might be taking his brain, maybe some of his memories away. In my mind, I was thinking she asked him to stop smoking. She's get rid of these cigarettes. It's a moment of genuine empathy from one side to the other, where she's like, I want you to live a long life or something like that. So stop smoking then. It would be an actual way of leaving a tangible effect on Sanji after this relationship's done with. But maybe it is to kiss him. I don't know.
I know that the idea is that we're supposed to think that she kissed him, so that explanation is probably more the Oda thing to do. And I could also definitely see her kind of doing it in her, kind of
saying
self-contradicting way, saying if we're gonna be freaking married, then you shouldn't be killing yourself or something like that.
Smoking makes you look really uncool and ugly or something like that. In her mind, she's like, I want you to live longer, or something like that.
All right. We cut back to the fight between Katakuri and Luffy. They've just launched their big, huge final attacks at each other, and we see the aftermath of that. Luffy's punch directly connected with Katakuri right in his goddamn stomach. And it's a little bit harder to determine this at first glance, but seemingly from the aftermath of it, it seems as though that big giant mace arm thing that Katakuri smashed down, that also, I think, hit Luffy, because the ground around him has cracked open. The ground gives way beneath Luffy, and he falls in a hole while Katakuri continues to stand there. And it looks like he's knocked out. But then Katakuri falls forward on his stomach. It's a very, samurai showdown kind of conclusion, where the delayed fall from one of the two. We cut away again from there. We get a little bit of conversation between the guests for Big Mom's party. Like, one guy is like, "There's gonna be big news if this guy gets away from Big Mom." And it's just, mostly just exchanging banter between them, though.
You know what my favorite movie of this Oscar season was? What was it? The Post! It's about the news! I
love newspapers, guys!
He's like, you want to know what my favorite show on HBO was? What? The Newsroom!
Just like making bird motions and bobbing his head while he talks about shit.
He's like, you want to know what my favorite wrestler of the last few years was? Who was it? Bad News Barrett! Fucking, I hate this. You don't know what my favorite play is? Let me guess. The Newsies! I'm going to kill this bird. I'm going to kill him. I swear to God.
You know what my favorite magazine is? What is it, Morgan's? Newsweek!
Wouldn't you like all news if you're the newspaper guy? He's like, specifically Newsweek.
It has news in the title, you see.
You want to know what my favorite Canadian providence is? Newfoundland! It's like, that's not even the name of it.
Oh, God. You know what my favorite Disney animated television show is? What is it, Morgan's? The News Adventures of Winnie the Pooh! That's not what it's called. All right. Whew. So, we also cut over to briefly to Big Capone's group. They're racing to try and get to the island so they can dump the cake. He gives this very deep, moving speech to convince his crew to actually follow with it's on the tip of my tongue. His wife's name. God damn it. Whatever.
Chiffon.
Follow with her plan and actually, reach the island before they dump the cake. And he's like, we may have been born in different places from different mothers, but we'll die together. Yes, of course. So I do like the brief little, like, he moves the crew in the span of one panel with a great speech. Also checking on the Straw Hats as they're racing to try and get to Cacao Island. They think that they're going to reach it there on time, but of course they're worried that, hey, is Luffy actually going to be able to get out of Mirio World? I like that, Nami brings up, I'm worried that he's going to be able to do that. I mean, he can't get out of the mirror without Brûlé. And Jinbei's like, Luffy doesn't seem like the kind of guy who can calculate such tactics. And they're like, yes, that's right, he can't!
Oh, God! He's an idiot!
Also, Brooke says, I'm not even sure he understands what time it is. And Kara's like, what, that too? Cut to Luffy and Katakuri. Luffy hauls himself out of the pit. There's 13 minutes to go before the meeting time. And, of course, he's thinking about, hey, we've got to get out. 1 o'clock in the morning, once you've beaten him, find a mirror that leads to Cacao Island. We'll meet up there. And Luffy says as he's dragging himself forward across the floor, what time is it? And everyone's like, I don't think he understands what time it is. What time is it? But then he sees Katakuri standing before him. Did Katakuri get bigger, or has he always been this huge, Chris?
I think he he definitely feels like he's gotten bigger. It's one of those things that Oda does a lot, where he makes his characters really big in those moments. You're like, they don't feel like they'd be that big. I feel like Katakuri has never been this large in... Like, if they stood next to each other, he's probably always been that kind of large. But it's tough to tell when they've been fighting because the scale hasn't really felt like it completely felt like that.
Well, between Katakuri constantly morphing his body and both of them having stretchable limbs, so...
Yeah.
It looks as though Luffy would barely come up to Katakuri's knee, by the way, so... Katakuri is obviously on his last legs anyway, and he says, "Will you be back someday to topple Big Mom?" And Luffy's like, "Of course I will! I'm the man who will be king of the pirates!" And Katakuri just says, "You're looking quite far into the future." And he collapses and falls unconscious, and Luffy departs after doing something briefly, and as he walks away, we see that he didn't leave his straw hat, but he left his gangster hat. Not only did he leave his gangster hat with him as a little sign of respect, but he left it covering Katakuri's mouth.
It was a very sweet little sentiment as like a closure to that fight, so that he wouldn't show that face he's been trying to hide to everybody else.
It's a cool little moment of respect. I really dig. And
then this shit happens.
And then this shit happens immediately. Barely even have time to throw that in. Brule is incredibly saddened to see that her brother Katakuri has been defeated. And Luffy's like, "What? Branch? It's Brule!" And so Brule is being carried by Pickums.
Oh, no, Nick.
Luchador mask.
Nick, it's not.
As Mystery Savior Mistums.
It's Mistums, Nick. It's not Peckums. It's Mistums. It's a different character.
It's Peckums. So
Nick,
Peckums,
no, it's not. Hulk Hogan wasn't Mr. America. They were different people. He took a lie detector test.
So Juan Cena says, "I don't believe it. Grar. My name's Mistums. I caught Brule and waited until I could help you get out of here." And Luffy just says, "Peckums, you're all right." And Peckums is like, "Yeah, Pedro died to save your lives, and I'll be damned if I let that go to waste." Doesn't even correct him. So anyway, Peckums. Definitely Peckums. It's not Mestums, Chris. Luffy realized it was Peckums. You can't say that the disguise worked. Luffy thought that Soga King wasn't Usopp at first, and he spotted Peckums right away. It's Peckums. It's not a good disguise.
But it says it's a mystery savior. He has his own intro thing. It's Mistums.
Finally, we close off with the Straw Hats reaching Cacao Island. Sanji communicating with them to say that Luffy is still not out of the mirror, but he says, "Don't worry, I'll bring Luffy to the ship." More time passes. There's only 5 minutes to the scheduled meeting time, and Oven gets everyone ready because if Luffy's going to come out of the mirror, it's going to be within the next 5 minutes, and he begs Straw Hat Luffy to show himself. Cool chapter. It was cool to see the conclusion of this fight at last, end on a really nice, badass little moment. And yeah, the climax of the arc is finally coming up, it seems.
I've been super pumped. One Piece has been really building up to a crazy exciting point, and this was just such a great way to get to that. The Katakuri Luffy fight is easily one of the best in One Piece's history.
So that is gonna do it then. Let us name our favorites for this week, Chris.
My favorite chapter for this week is One Piece. One Piece had a really good chapter this week. I love the characters in it. I love the way it bounced around everywhere. I love the conclusion to that fight. And I love that we're building up to a really exciting conclusion. I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Yeah. And my favorite chapter this week was My Hero Academia. I loved all the stuff that we got to see, check in on all the different classes and stuff. Got some humor, got some nice, sweet little moments of character development and stuff. And just a lot of like really memorable little visual moments too. It was a really jam-packed chapter. So
I can dig that.
My favorite character this week is Mistums, the Mystery Savior. No, I'm just kidding.
My MVP, by the way, is it's going to be Merlin. I loved Merlin. I thought she was a really good character this week. I love that little moment she has of trying to kind of like think through things. like kind of sitting there being like, I've forgotten what to even do at this point. I've been alive so long, and then seeing like real genuine emotion come out of her and just her badass turnabout. I'm like, I'm totally behind that character now.
And my favorite character this week was Gen. I really liked just the little comments that he got to make, and also had this moment of him saving the day, basically, in a kind of retroactive manner. But you got some really cool stuff. I really like the visual of him smirking after he's just like, okay, yeah, you got me. And just all the little details that we got of his actions and stuff. So
yeah, I definitely dig it. By the way, One Piece won our audience poll for this week, 75%. So an overwhelming majority, though. We have quite a few issues with Smashcast, so maybe it's not everybody participating in that. But still, a lot of people really dug One Piece. So
it's a good chapter. All right, that then is going to do it for this week of Weekly Manga Recap. We want to thank everyone who joined us for our live stream, which we record here on smashcast.tv/RoloT and twitch.tv/RoloT. Thursdays currently around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you don't manage to catch the show, you can check out all of our past episodes and stuff. We put them up on a bunch of different places. You can find them on iTunes. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on weeklymangarecap.popping.com, where you can also check out the archive of all of our past episodes as well. And if you check them out on those places, be sure to subscribe and comment, leave a rating and all that stuff, so that we can become kings of the hobby section and defeat our eternal rivals, the woodworking podcasts. Also, be sure to follow your hosts. You can follow the podcast at WMR Podcast for the official podcast account, as well as your hosts at RoloT and at Nick F. Time. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters. You can support us by going on patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. That allows us to do all sorts of bonus stuff, such as the hot takes. What was it called?
The hat of hot takes, Nick. The hat of hot takes. Such as this one. Loki is a meh Marvel villain, I should say, and is only liked because he's the only villain to survive Phase 1. You want more hot takes like that? Support the hat!
He's not even a villain anymore.
He's not that good. Overrated. Boom. Hot take.
That's probably the hottest take you pulled out yet.
Which is weird, because it's a common. That was an easy one. That was one anyone wants.
So as the rarity goes up, the more agreeable hot takes come out. Is that how it works?
Maybe I need to change up my rating system. The elusive common.
Oh gosh. We also, of course, want to thank Steve Manor, Tark Artist. You can check out his work in a bunch of different places. He's got a DeviantArt, he's got his own Patreon, and Infamous Planet for making up the frame and doing all sorts of other miscellaneous stuff for us. Thank you guys. And coming up soon, we should have Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald for Pokemon Adventures.
Damn straight. All right. That's it, everybody. Goodbye. Penis waffles.